Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm honored to represent your Marine Corps, and I look forward to discussing our efforts to address the growing threats and opportunities posed by small unmanned aerial systems. The Marine Corps continues to responsibly and necessarily modernize our force in the context of a dynamic and rapidly changing character of warfare aligned with our strategic guidance and in concert with our sister services. Guided by our commandant's priorities, we're balancing our role as the nation's force and readiness with our aggressive effort to modernize, which certainly includes integration of small unmanned aerial systems and integration of systems to counter threat unmanned aerial systems. Our mission is clear, to equip Marines with the tools to dominate in a contested environment while providing active and passive capabilities, necessary training, and other solutions to protect them from an increasingly complex and capable threat. Through a rigorous campaign of learning informed by lessons from current conflicts, we're adapting to a battlefield, in many cases redefined by small UAS. The Marine Corps is fielding unmanned aerial systems like the Skydio X-2D, the Skyraider R-80 Delta, the Stalker, at the battalion level and below. We're experimenting with low-cost, attritable drones using first-person view guidance methods to provide additional lethality organic to the Marine Air Ground Task Force. To this point, just this year, in a response to the observed evolution of armed FPV drone technology and tactics today on the battlefield, we established the Marine Corps Attack Drone Team. And this team is tasked to rapidly integrate lessons from modern combat, refine service-level requirements, and to train our Marines through a competition in arms program to increase and inform our organic lethality. Just last Friday, they completed their first test firing of a first-person view drone armed with a high-explosive charge on a Quantico range complex. It's exciting, and this construct is really working. Though we've fielded hundreds of small UAS and related capabilities, we have work to do. We must pursue faster and cheaper solutions. We're also fielding a portfolio of force protection capabilities to counter the UAS threat. We fielded the first of our Marine Air Defense Integrated System, or MADIS, systems to 3 Marine Expeditionary Force and a prototype light variant of the same capability to all 3 of our Marine Expeditionary Forces. The latter is principally designed to support our Marine Expeditionary units. These capabilities tie into our command and control systems and can detect and defeat small UAS and other threats via both non-kinetic and kinetic means. The 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment today is campaigning forward in Bala-Katan and exercising the MADIS system as we sit here today. This fiscal year, we will also field a prototype counter-UAS capability to protect dismounted Marines. This initiative will put man-portable solutions into Marines' hands at the tactical edge. We are feverishly working in belief this will be a model for fielding and iterative improvement. We've developed an installation counter-UAS system to detect and defeat low-altitude UAS threats and protect our bases and stations. We've fielded initial installations counter-UAS equipment sets and will incrementally expand this critical capability to protect 34 sites starting this fiscal year. We've also identified a relocatable fixed site solution that we're integrating into our formations as part of our portfolio approach to counter small UAS. Despite these successes, challenges loom large. The relentless pace of technological change and adversary innovation demands we accelerate. We must go faster. We must rapidly learn, iterate, improve, adapt, and modernize. We must continue modernizing how we modernize the Marine Corps. And to that end, beyond strictly material solutions, we've established a mechanism to increase the velocity of our acquisition processes for key capabilities, the Marine Corps Fusion Center, which is located in Quantico, Virginia. It's designed to drive necessary and healthy cross-functional approach that combines experts from our science and technology requirements and acquisition teams to collapse the timeline from concept to fielded capability, combined with the ability to work at a high security construct. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this is a team sport, and we all must move faster. To this end, we're collaborating closely with the Defense Innovation Unit, the Joint Counter Small UAS Aircraft Systems Office, and our other sister services, certainly to include the Army. Your continued support and advocacy are valued and appreciated and central to our success. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to your questions.
Lieutenant General Austin, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Now we will go to Lieutenant General Robert Collins, United States Army.
Chairman Whitman, Congressman Courtney, and I'd also give a shout out to our ranking member. Our thoughts and prayers are with you for a rapid recovery, and to members of the HASC subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to come out and to discuss our unmanned aerial system and counter small UAS modernization efforts, and I would say also our collaboration across this team of experts that I'm joined here. I would say first and foremost, we fully acknowledge the threat and the proliferation of these systems, both abroad and at home. And we collectively as a team are acting with urgency. We are generating momentum, and we are aggressively pressing ahead. We have observed these activities, as mentioned, from Ukraine to the Middle East and also here in the homeland. We have lessons learned and taking those, making them applied as we learn about increasing speeds, altitudes, stealth, how they operate in contested environments, distance, all of those things that we need to take immediate action. And I would say in one particular instance here in the homeland, for example, at Picatinny, when we had that incident on the 12th of December, we were able to take immediate action, and within about a 48-hour period, we were able to put kit on the ground to be able to put that in place to take action and protect that critical infrastructure. I would say first on the how, we certainly are adapting the how of how we more quickly iterate, how we scale, the speed, and how we outpace our threat and we insert emerging technologies. A couple areas that we're looking at is changing our buying models. And I would say we're doing that through adopting commercial off-the-shelf technologies, working through agile funding to give us additional flexibility, one. Two, increasing our modularity and openness of how we do these particular areas as we attract and desire to attract some of the non-traditionals. Increasing the competition as we do these iterative and tranche buys to make sure that we get the best of breed of capability. Focusing on software-centric and autonomous capable systems, and also bending the cost curve as we scale up and making sure we're pairing the right intercept and defeat mechanism with the right target and threat. And we are certainly thankful for all the authorities and the tools that Congress has been able, has allowed us and enabled us to be able to accomplish this. On the what, I would say there is likely no single silver bullet, nor can we hyper-specialize on some of these areas, and we need a layered approach to be able to get after this. And that ranges everything from soldier common capability to things that may require a military occupational specialty for higher complex threats and capabilities and systems. We're shaping that what, I would say, in a couple areas. One, more flexible requirements where we describe what it is that we want industry to provide versus overly prescribe and use continuous iterations with soldiers to inform. I would say also we have soldiers and users actively involved in the process so we can get their feedback and do so through experimentation in realistic conditions. And overall, I think this helps from material to training to employment. On UAS, the layered strategy from Group 1 down at platoon level through our Group 2, our medium range, all the way up to our longer ranges at battalion and brigade. Couple that with modular packages that can do anything from intel comms, electronic warfare, all of which we can do so without putting soldiers at risk. On counter-UAS, also continuing to modernize capabilities, not only through operational fixed sites for some of our operational units, as well as the soldier common kit and supporting operations in the homeland and focusing in on that sense, that decide the ability that we need to do so and pair those weapon systems, and also intercept from non-kinetic, kinetic, and even at the homeland, low collateral capability given some of the urban environments. And finally, I would just collectively underscore it's imperative to keep pace with this and to continue to operate speed that we operate as a team, both with the Department of Defense. We've done great things with the DIU, with our joint services, and certainly with industry to share those best practices, insights, and a partner across many efforts. And I thank you very much for your continued support for your members and look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Sorry, Major General David Stewart. There we go. Trying to change your name.
Chairman Whitman, Congressman Courtney, distinguished members of the subcommittee, and of course, best wishes to Ranking Member Norcross. Thank you for inviting me here today to discuss counter-small UAS, gaps, requirements, and projected capabilities. I serve as the director of the Joint Counter-UAS Office, or JCO, the DoD's executive agent for countering Groups 1, 2, and 3 UAS. The small UAS threat is present and constantly evolving. Conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine demonstrate how advances in hardware, software, and tactics are making drones more autonomous, easily acquired, and deadlier. Compared to the IEDs that killed and injured thousands of American service members, UAS are more dangerous because they actively surveil, target, and deliver lethal effects from the air. Importantly, this threat is not just in operational environments abroad. Small UAS are becoming more prevalent here in the homeland. The JCO leads and synchronizes joint requirements, technologies, training, and doctrine to minimize duplication and redundancy. We are the connective tissue of the DoD, working daily across the department and interagency with industry, allies, and partners on all things counter-small UAS. The JCO assesses urgent capability gaps and accelerates materiel development to our warfighters and enhance their lethality, funding an enhanced common operating picture, investing in continued development of a cost-efficient counter-small UAS effector, and transitioning multiple systems to the services. The JCO has also funded operational assessments to multiple combatant commands to get kit in warfighters' hands and simultaneously inform future service rapid acquisition decisions. We continue to invest in future technologies like low collateral effectors, high-powered microwave, and directed energy. To further inform service acquisition decisions and accelerate future system development, the JCO hosts instrumented demonstrations where our industry partners showcase capabilities and we invest in promising service-led RDT&E efforts. Beyond materiel, the JCO executes rapid response teams to combatant commands, providing expertise on system emplacement and operations. We funded the creation and further development of the DoD's only Joint Counter-UAS University and online modules to build doctrinal and training foundations. We also contributed to the DoD's counter-UXS strategy and assist with policy development. Lastly, there is no silver bullet. The breadth of this threat requires a layered systems of systems approach. With your continued support, we aim to move faster for our warfighters and government-wide stakeholders to outpace this threat at home and abroad. Thank you.
I want to know, SANS impaneling a work group, how are we going to address this? I understand the cross-jurisdictional issues. I think the authorities are clear in what the United States military has. I understand concerns by FAA, FCC, all of those different entities, but I would argue that the protection of our men and women in uniform and those facilities are job one, and that should be the priority. So Major General Stewart, I know I've given a lot of background there, but I want to get your perspective on where would we be today if the same thing happened today at Langley or Picatinny? What would our response be, and could we act immediately to counter that and to gather the necessary information to make sure we're learning about the nature of this threat?
Each service and each installation will have different circumstances based mostly on the threat. And what we're finding with the threat is there are multiple ways to navigate, whether that's using radio frequency uplink, downlink, using waypoints through satellites, or loading optics in to use the terrain to fly. We're now even seeing tethered. So back to the point that there is no one silver bullet. There's no one single way to detect these different threats. So you need a system of a systems approach, for sure. Each service will look at the individual installations and the requirements that are required for capability. But beyond materiel, you point out some very good observations that training is essential, regularly rehearsed battle drills, and just really understanding policy, which the JCO has produced videos to help installation commanders understand their authorities. And then lastly, I would just say, I believe and assess that the capability is there. We have a bit of a capacity problem across each one of the services at installations, but each service is prioritizing installations based on maybe critical infrastructure as well. And lastly, I know the Northcom commander is looking for flyaway kits.
How can we accelerate the sharing of information so that we can protect the homeland better? I know we're trying to do it for our warfighter. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. I think that's our responsibility. But are we leaving the civilian sector behind because they're just as vulnerable as the warfighter? Anybody want to take that one on? Well, Mr. Beck, it's going to fall on you. Okay.
Oh, I can start. I can lead off.
Okay.
Congressman, I believe initiatives like Replicator 2 and what's happening on the southern border will help DoD and the interagency advance our learning and coordination to identify problems here in the homeland, which is really helpful. Also, I think Northcom being designated the synchronizer will help here at the homeland as well. From a JCO perspective, we have demonstrations that we do with our partners in industry. We also monthly meet with 4 to 8 industry partners to bring them in and share our perspective and then learn from them.
When you're talking industry, you're talking about the people that are making the stuff that shoots these things down, or are you talking to like the airport authorities and transportation authorities and said how to harden their infrastructure against these attacks? Mark my words, okay?
Absolutely, and I would say
this is not a question of if it's going to happen,
right?
Because Murphy says if it can, it will. Okay. And so
I would say both.
Are we working with, our civilian partners that have critical infrastructure to bring some kind of capability to defend against these unmanned aerial systems?
Yes. One example of that is we perform tabletop exercises where we bring in 30 interagency partners from all over the government, state and local, to address policy and legal issues. And then we bring up issues, both CONUS and then looking at what's been learned in Ukraine and in the Middle East. So we do bring that body together to share ideas and come up with common solutions.
If I could augment too as well, General Collins from the Army, I would say yes, we have in one particular example, as we learned activities at Picatinny, the ability to do that cross-collaboration with state, local, and federal authorities. And this was everything from how we sensed in particular environments when you have a lot of collateral and you had to deconflict that, to I'd also say in the intercept to make sure that we look at things like the ability to have like net capture or tangle drones to be able to bring them down without having significant challenges in spectrum deconfliction. I would say those are other areas. And as we go through all of those battle drills, as was discussed, how you have that cross communication and clear lines of authority are absolutely the things that we're starting to get after, not just on the M side of material, how we do that, all the coordination that goes to effect in that infrastructure with other agencies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One of the areas that we are spending an enormous amount of time on is particularly around the technologies and sensing to be able to have a much broader reach of sense, including in some of the unique ways that we can do that, not just leveraging kind of acoustic radar, 5G, LTE, but also the data that exists out there in highly populated areas, leveraging all of that to do a better job of sensing, and then leveraging AI to be able to pull all that together and do rapid decision-making based on it. So that's one thing. Second thing is, the General mentioned Replicator 2 initiative. We've actually had the FAA directly involved as part of that initiative as we've been going through it, and we will be launching just next week a low collateral defeat DIU CSO focused on those low collateral technologies for defeating drones, particularly in highly populated areas, and the FAA is part of that effort. Taking that, and for that group, which we're going to call Blue Select, effectively giving them that white glove treatment, helping them to scale across the department. So it'll be kind of a two-tiered system. And that's really important to avoid the kind of challenges that I think you alluded to and that we've heard very much from our partners in the tech sector. The third thing I'll say on this is that those first two pieces that I talked about are important, but the biggest thing that we've got to do to really make our unmanned systems capability grow in the way that we need to is put put the scale behind this, the scale of demand signal that will allow the flywheel to really go. And so that's about establishing, if I go back to my earlier comments, effectively a portfolio of record in the unmanned systems space, funding it at the right scale, and then giving the services as well as the rest of us a chance to go and help go after that.
So in 2020, there was an advisory and was put out by the Department of Justice, the Department of Transportation, FCC, and the Department of Homeland Security. And the title of that advisory says, the advisory on the application of federal laws to the acquisition and use of technology to detect and mitigate unmanned aircraft systems. I believe the reason our commanders hesitate is because they're treating a remote control airplane or a drone as if it was a passenger airliner. And so I'd like to, with unanimous consent, I'd like to enter this advisory into the record.
Without objection. Without objection.
And so our team is looking at legislation to possibly amend 18 U.S.C. 32 code and basically changing the language from aircraft to manned aircraft. And I think that will get rid of the stigma that comes with that advisory that came out in 2020. So again, we've entered that in the record. But let's go back to equipment. I recently visited the Starbase in Texas, where Elon Musk is building the Starship. Can take 150 plus tons of equipment into space, and he cannot meet the demand. I mean, it's amazing how efficient he is. He puts engineers on the floor, not up in some air-conditioned office. So if you're working on a rocket and you see a weakness, you can go straight to an engineer and fix it on the assembly line. Or if you see an improvement, you can go straight to an engineer and fix it right. So every rocket gets better, better, and better. And one of the things I heard him say is he actually said when he has a project, he wants to fail as hard as possible, as fast as possible. You can imagine if it drags on forever and ever and ever. So I just want to echo the comments that you guys said. I also heard a comment, I think it was from General Stewart. You said that this UAS threat is way worse than the IED threat that we experienced in the Middle East, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And so it is a real threat. So that being the case, and I'd like to ask all members of the panel, is how are we doing on outpacing this threat at home and abroad? And we'll start with Mr. Beck.
I think we've got a long way to go. So we're making enormous progress. We are accelerating against that challenge. You could hear that up and down here. And I also think we've got a long way to go to get to the level of meeting the threat and also the level of pace of change that's necessary in the way the technology moves across sense, decide, and act to be able to meet the challenge at the scale that we see it.
Since we have limited time, let's just go real quickly. Lieutenant General Austin.
Sir, thank you for the question. I would tell you from a Marine Corps perspective, we're happy but not satisfied. We're making progress. We're fielding equipment that has the agility and the built-in open architecture to adapt and improve from a software and a hardware perspective. But we've got a ways to go to keep up with the threat and exceed the threat.
General Collins.
I would say from the Army, we're making progress, but we still have much to go on sense. As mentioned, we need to get the better ability to deconflict. There's a lot of, things that are out there that we need to discriminate these targets, understand what it is. On the decide piece, use AI with data to be able to identify and pair those with weapons. And then on the intercept, not only on kinetic, but on non-kinetic and low collateral so that we can lower the cost curve and be able to get after some of the threats that are swarms and things that go into an autonomous mode.
I think about the Patriot missile systems and things like that.
Yep.
Small dollars taking out big dollars.
Right.
And General Stewart.
I assess we've had some great success in the Middle East, leveraging against Group 3 one-way attacks using Coyote, APKWS, and then SM2, 3, and 6. So that was the most important and dangerous threat, the Group 3 one-way attack. Now we're seeing both home and abroad the Groups 1 and 2 smaller for swarm and mass attack.
And Mr. Beck, you mentioned that you visited Ukraine and you went to the tunnels where I guess they're producing these drones at a very low cost. How would you, if you could in this environment, how would you compare our capabilities to do the same or better to scale compared to Ukraine?
Well, I mean, I think that we need to be able to scale at a whole other level of scale. But maybe I'd make two comments. First one is that what I saw there was very impressive, because you've got literally in basements and 3D printers, developers together with warfighters coming up with an incredibly iterative process to move, our system is not built to do that, which is why we right now buy 4,000 or 5,000 drones a year in our system, and there are 4,000 a day being produced over there. So we're on a different scale. One thing I would that we're doing to try to get after this or help to is to link the incredible capability that we have for hardware and software in some of these emerging companies who just don't have the scalability yet, with the incredible capability in advanced manufacturing that we're now seeing in the United States, everything from digital engineering all the way through the 3D printing, putting those two groups together and giving them an opportunity to effectively find each other so both can scale, which is strategic for us. That's the Blue Manufacturing Initiative that I mentioned.
What are the current capability gaps in detecting and countering drones near military installations, and how is the Joint Counter Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Office working to address these challenges with both existing and future technologies?
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. And I think that's a very good question. I think, first, as we start to look at what we're putting out on the installations in the homeland, our ability to sense and look through the clutter that is a unique thing as part of the urban environment is one area that we're specifically looking at. I would say, too, in the Decide area, there's a lot of data that we get in from a lot of different sources, and as Mr. Beck mentioned, as we couple that data and we use the artificial intelligence to be able to sift through that data in what is literally milliseconds to be able to respond. And then on the intercept, how do we have the ability to have that range and to go after whether it be swarm, whether it be individual, and do so and defeat that in a very low collateral manner. So that's probably one area. I would say, too, we've been partnering closely with the JCO team on particularly in the policy. I would say, first, in the coordination that needs to go into place. We've learned a lot about how we need to be able to do that, learn those lessons, and replicate that across all those various environments. The second piece is a training aspect in which the JCO has helped, I think, across all the services, everything from how we do installation training to mobile training to everything as simple as a video that someone can go out and watch. And then, as already mentioned, too, the SOPs on those battle drills to get out there and rehearse. And those are areas to make sure that folks are comfortable with not only the capability they have, what we're going to pursue, but the authorities that they have so that they can make sure that they make timely decisions when an incursion should occur.
May I add, Congressman? Sure. Very quickly? I would say from a homeland perspective, looking at low collateral defeat mechanisms, as well as active and passive sensors, not one or the other. And then I know General Guillot is looking to expand 130I to extend to all installations. I just want to reinforce that all services are also pursuing those installations that are covered under 130I, but expanding would give us more crisis response ability. And then lastly, DoD is working to consolidate and clarify policy to prevent that policy confusion.
And Mr. Beck, what remains of some of the key technical challenges DIU is seeking to overcome in its effort to identify counter-UAS solutions for the protection of military installations, and to what extent will such technology be relevant to other federal departments and agencies?
The areas that we're really focused on break down into that sense, decide, and act that we've all been talking about. And on the sensing side, the ability for our teams to be able to see what's coming. So that's new acoustic technologies. It's radar that's lower cost and smaller and can be mobile. It's leveraging 5G and LTE, and it's leveraging that commercial data. I mentioned the AI-enabled decision support, which is really a critical area, because the volume of data and the speeds that we're talking about, as the general referred to, is truly astronomical, and that's a major area that we're focused on. And frankly, where the commercial tech sector has capabilities that are immediately applicable that we need to figure out how how to get on board. And we're in the middle of doing that. In fact, we have a project with the Army right now that we're working very closely on exactly that. And then on the from a commercial tech sector, in particular on the ACT side, it's really about those low collateral interceptors and getting after those solutions, whether it's through electronic means or low kinetic ballistics means or other forms of bringing those drones down. And those solutions, I think, are extremely applicable to others, not just to us.
Mr. Congressman, I think we have been able to take the lessons learned, and we are better off as we start to take a look at how we've pre-positioned capability, how we have put out our ability to sense, to distribute. There are things that we have done in our intercept capability, specifically on the time to launch, from the time to seek and the time to be able to destroy, so that we've been able to learn. And then as we start to look, and we've partnered with the JCO, as we start to see various parts of the threat, specifically in the Group 3, how they increase speed, how they increase altitude and maneuverability, making sure that we are not only keeping pace, but getting ahead of the pace of how that we're able to address those threats. Also within the layering of the capability, taking a look at other alternative means from both kinetic and non-kinetic means to provide a multi-layered approach for protection.
And could our outposts or even a major base such as Al Udeid in Qatar sustain such a barrage and wave of drones attack?
I think we'd need to, at every one of those sites, we've looked at the threat profile to make sure that we've got the appropriate mechanisms to defend each one of those sites.
Mr. Beck, in your view as Director of the Defense Innovation Unit, how could a partnership with Israel help bring us up to speed?
Sorry. So I think there are probably two forms of getting to kind of specific technologies. The first one is actively learning from the experience that the Israelis are having. They're putting obviously an enormous amount of effort into the challenge. They're seeing it every single day. And they have extremely adept technology in Israel, plus they're very adept at leveraging technology from the rest of the world. And so we actively learn from what they're doing in the DIU. And then the second piece is specific kit, specific technology, specific companies that are doing that in Israel. And one of the things about DIU, when we will, if the very best capability is from one of our allies or partners, we will we'll take that on board. And sometimes one of the 2 or 3 prototypes that we end up awarding to will be from one of our allies or partners.